Okay, he is a guru.
Yes, he is. And
he has a very cute handwriting. I can see his notebook. Compared to other doctors I've seen, I can actually read his
Prince
handwriting.
just wants to call Dr. Mabila Mathebula cute.
No, bro, I said his handwriting.
You want to call him cute.
Now I understand how you felt. It feels very wrong internally.
See? You see?
So, Dr. Mabila Mathebula,
I can see I'm under attack today.
So not at all. It's Prince.
So the two young men are talking about you in your presence, Dr. Mabila Mathebula.
Yeah, it's indeed an honor. you know, there is something in sociology they call the backstage and the front stage. The front stage is what people say when you are with them, but the backstage is something that they say when you are not with them.
Yes.
Now I appreciate the front stage.
Now, how tragedy can break or make a relationship, Dr. Mabila Mathebula?
Yeah, well, in Afrikaans, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. Now, it means that when you meet your partner, everything is rosy. But along the way, you might actually come across challenges. And those challenges may either make or break the relationship. They may either serve as a binding force or a dividing force. Now, it depends on how strong the relationship is. If a relationship is weak, it will fall apart. And if a relationship is strong, it will stand the test of time.
Did you hear that?
And that's an introduction.
Just an introduction.
Just an introduction.
Yeah. Now, in fact, let's understand why people meet Dr. Mabila Mathebula.
Well, people meet for two reasons. It's either you have got a common goal, which is love, or a common enemy. You know, even in political parties, what we saw is people met during apartheid as comrades because they were fighting the apartheid system, which was a common enemy.
Yes.
And then, but there you have got a problem because once you meet because you have got a common enemy. Once the enemy is no longer there, you have got a problem. You need to identify what a common goal is.
Yes.
You know, because it's like at work. If people work against the boss, we don't want this boss anymore. You know, and they work doubly hard to get rid of the boss. It's okay because they had a common enemy. But after the boss has departed, you have got a problem. You know, what is our common goal? Because if you don't have a common goal, you still have a problem. Yeah, the same applies to relationships. It's either you have got a common goal or a common enemy.
So, in other words, there is something that makes or that glues the two people together, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the binding force. That's the cement or the glue that binds you together.
So the cement, right? Or the glue that binds two people together. Now, I want us to stay in this one point because this is a very interesting point. And I'm happy that Dr. Mabila Mathebula mentioned it. That if you meet because you've got a common enemy and you fight very hard or double hard, that you get rid of the enemy, there's something that is very, very critical that you need to have.
A goal.
Which is a goal. I'm glad you're listening. Which is a goal. Because failing to get the goal, now, what you have replaced, that enemy, you're going to create between the two of you. Because you no longer have anything to fight about. I like this point, Dr. Mabila Mathebula. Because you see, basically what it means, it means that as people, we need to always have goals in life, right? Like things that we need to achieve. As opposed to we meet because at this particular point it was
nice.
Okay, yes, it was nice. Yes, Vision. Yes, it was nice. But there was a need for us to meet because there was something that we had in common, which is that particular enemy. He used two examples. One, let's say in the workplace.
There's a boss.
There's
that
a boss.
We don't like. We want to
You don't
remove
like
this
you
person.
don't you don't like the boss.
Yes.
And after the boss has left, there is something. I'm going somewhere, Dr. Mabila Mathebula.
I actually see it coming.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the same
Because
thing.
I'm thinking Winnie Mandela and I'm thinking Nelson Mandela.
Oh, okay.
There was a common enemy.
Yeah, there was a common enemy.
So once the enemy was removed, which is the apartheid, it was gone. So there was nothing that was binding them together.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Now they needed to define
A common
goal. The same applies to our president, the Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Yeah.
People know him as a fighter during the apartheid era because he was fighting the enemy. And people don't actually understand that now he's no longer fighting an enemy because he has identified a common goal, which is democracy.
Yes.
You know, and people want him to behave as though he's
fighting.
He's still fighting the enemy, and he's no longer fighting an enemy, but he has actually identified what a common goal. What is a common goal for the country? What is something that would actually bind the country together to make the country prosperous?
Now, Dr. Mathebula, what are some of the tragedies that may befall a relationship?
Yeah, firstly, when a couple is desperately looking for a child and a woman does not conceive.
Yes.
You know, you are newlyweds, you have planned your family and the like, and your wife does not conceive. 1 year, second year, third year, maybe 10 years, just like that. And you'd actually understand that there's going to be pressure from outside. People might actually say you are not a man. You know, that's why your wife, does not conceive, because you are incapable. You know, and in Venda they've got a saying that goes "Mataga zambi rundungwana." You know, and if your wife is desperately looking for a baby and she doesn't conceive, she's going to be frustrated. And there might be so many things involved. She might actually think that, for example, this man maybe cannot render me pregnant. Maybe let me actually try another man. You understand? Also, you might actually be tempted and say, maybe let me try another woman to prove as to whether am I a man or not. And there'll be a lot of societal pressures from your family of saying that, but why is this woman like this? And if you are not strong, your relationship may break up.
And isn't this very interesting, especially to young couples, to actually understand that those are the things that you might not see whilst you are still in a relationship, and as when the relationship has just started. But the first year, the second year, the third year, by the third year, we will start to ask questions. We start to ask questions if whether you are barren or something.
Yeah, and also you need to understand that a relationship has got a life cycle. You start off as boyfriend and girlfriend, and then you move to another cycle of being parents. You know, now you need to understand exactly where are you in terms of your life cycle. You are no longer a boyfriend and a girlfriend. You are husband and wife, and you need to handle, your challenges as husband and wife, not like as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Then second tragedy, Dr. Mathebula?
Yeah, it may be the death of a child or maybe the second one is when the couple is expecting a baby and they finally end up with a stillbirth. You know, you have been expecting this baby, or maybe you have named this baby, you bought clothes, there was a baby shower, there was some excitement, you also prepared a room for him, a special room for him or her. And then when your wife comes back from hospital, she doesn't have a baby anymore.
And that's a tragedy.
It's a tragedy, and you must also understand that when a child dies, a part of a mother dies with the child. Now, in other words, you're going to have a miserable wife who's going to cry all the time because a part of her has also died.
And then we also have a third one.
The death of a child through natural causes or through an accident. You have got a child, you love the child and the like, and the child dies, maybe gets sick, and then the child dies, or maybe the child is involved in an accident, or maybe the child has drowned and the child has died eventually, and you don't have a child anymore.
And with regard to that, there might be finger pointing as well. Sometimes maybe the child died in an accident that you were also involved in. Maybe you were driving a car.
And then since you were the driver, it was you.
You get the point.
Yes, we
I'm
can
saying
pinpoint to that.
there might be a lot of questions that can be asked right there. And it also depends on our emotional intelligence as well, as to what is it that we do when we've got a situation like that.
Yeah, well, Stan is actually raising another thing about bereavement. When you go through a bereavement process, there's a process. Firstly, there is shock. You are shocked because the child has died. And then secondly, there is blame. It's a process that you have to go through. You have to blame other people. And then finally, you accept.
Exactly.
Now, when a person is in a grieving situation, you must actually understand the life cycle, where the person is. You might be blamed for that because it's part of the life cycle. You need to wait until the end of the life cycle when a person has accepted the status quo.
Wow.
And then we have number that was number 3, number 4,
Number 4 now.
yeah.
Yeah, you might be having physical disability. For example, you are a husband, you are involved in an accident, and now you are confined to a wheelchair. That's a tragedy for an organization, for a family. Now, another person might say, no, I can't actually deal with a person who's on the wheelchair, because they start thinking about so many things. Firstly, they think that, this person is on the wheelchair and it means that he can't perform anymore. Or maybe if he can, we have to take infinite pains to do that. Now it might break or make up the relationship, and someone might say, he is my husband and we're going to stick together.
Because you see, when you make a vow, you say, through thick and thin, right?
Yes.
Where's circumstances for better or for worse, right?
And then the famous one also, through sickness and in health.
And in health, yes. And then, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, then there's a loss of job by the breadwinner.
Yeah, there is a lot, you lose your job as a man, and then you don't have a job anymore, you can't provide anymore. And what I've realized is when a man loses his job, he loses also his confidence. Your confidence goes. And on the other side of the coin, when a woman gains weight, she loses confidence. Now, if you lose your job, the confidence also goes because you are no longer a provider. And also, you fear a lot of things. You still remember the other time when we spoke about fears that men have. This is one of the fears. You don't know what will actually happen to you. You feel useless. You feel, unworthy. You feel so many things. Some people become so superstitious that maybe I lost my job because of nocturnal activities. You know what those activities are? Buloi.
Oh, nocturnal.
Nocturnal activities. Say now when buloi.
Yeah. Then Dr. Mabila Mathebula, you have a child. You wanted a child, but then this child becomes delinquent and start to take substance because they defy the parents.
Yeah, that's another tragedy. That you had a child, who was socialized, and at a particular point, this child becomes a delinquent. He takes nyaupe, he takes glue, he takes excessive alcohol. He doesn't stay at home, and all those things. And then now you are trying by all means. You have got all the resources, to take this person through a university and the like. But this person does not want to listen to you, does not want to listen to your advice. Now, that's a tragedy. And then that's where you'd actually find that parents start fighting each other. And saying that, mwana utwana lwena. And then you start blaming each other.
Or mangwana.
That's you spoil the child, as a mother and the like, only to find that you don't even have control over the situation. Now you start blaming each other. Now, such a scenario may make up or break the relationship.
And then another one, Dr. Mathebula, another tragedy.
Yeah. The imprisonment of a family member. You know, you might be in a marriage and only to find that you end up in prison. You know, and then when you are in prison, the other partner might actually decide to pursue a different life, or maybe it might actually serve as a binding force. I've seen in a number of occasions where men never appreciated their women, and they end up being confined to a prison, and now they start loving their women, you know, and they realize that, you know what, I love you, because he doesn't have a woman anymore. You know, these women visits or besuk, whatever they call it, you know, now he starts, you know, appreciating this woman, you know, now, you know, imprisonment may either make or break your relationship.
And then also, we are also talking about another one, Dr. Mathebula, hospitalization as well.
Yeah, hospitalization. You know, if one is actually in hospital, it might, you know, serve as a binding force or a dividing force. You might actually say, this guy is going to die. You know, and I don't care about him anymore, or this woman is going to die. You know, I don't care about him, you know, anymore.
That's
you know, yeah. Now that's another thing. It might actually serve as a binding force or add as a dividing force. You might actually provide what we call Mother Teresa effect. You know, for example, when you show a person love, when a person is in hospital, bringing flowers, singing, you know, praying for that person, the person will heal because of the love.
Now, we also have chronic illness, Dr. Mathebula.
Yeah, chronic illness. You have got a husband and he's suffering from diabetes, you know, or high blood pressure and, you know, hypertension, all those things. And those things might actually serve as a dividing or binding force, because you understand that when someone has got diabetes, it's going to disturb the flow of, you know, the blood, the way the blood flows. And based on our last, you know, conversation, now physical union may be difficult, you know, or may not be as it used to be in the past.
Yes, not as regular as well.
So, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, exposure to car accidents, car hijacking or house robbery.
Yeah, for example, you are in with your wife and then you are being hijacked and someone is pointing a gun at you. You know, that is trauma. You become traumatized or something. Maybe someone breaks into your house and then, you know, you are asleep and then they take your material and the like. You know, now you'll never forget such an event, and then that one might actually serve as a binding force, you know, because even if maybe you think of leaving this woman or she thinks like leaving you, she thinks, hey, but we had a tragedy, you know, it serves as a binding force. It serves as a binding force because you know you survive together, and then you know you don't want to take other chances, you know, you are together. It served as a binding force, and on the other side of the coin, and having maybe a child who's disabled, that's another thing. You know, some other people may leave or may serve as a binding force, but more often than not, you realize that if I leave, you know, what will happen to this child? You know, and at times God will actually create a scenario and give you a disabled child so that you don't part ways, because you know, if the child was okay, you'd have left your wife, you know, because you wouldn't have seen any value in the relationship. But because, and God, what God does, he brings a child who's disabled to serve as a binding force because he doesn't want you to leave.
And also, again, the loss of positions such as car or house.
Yeah, for example, you become unemployed and you lose your possessions. And then, you know, someone may leave, or maybe it might serve as a binding force that, love, we can go together, even maybe we go to Emukuku. It does matter.
As long as we're there together.
Which, because the binding force would have been that we have been together for a long time. We've gone through thick and thin. And this as well can also serve as a way of saying, also this one we can still be able to overcome, Dr. Mathebula. To say the loss of these positions, we lost, but we still can be able to overcome and be able to even gain more positions as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because you must also understand that what God does when he gives you a wife and a children, it's like, you know, a destiny and a provision. You know, let me give you an example. Let's take, for example, you say you want to go to Venda, and I say to you, okay, Stan, you don't have money, I'll give you money for transport, you know, and then when you say to me, no, but I can't go because you didn't give me money for chicken licking, you know, the question of provision and destiny.
And
You know,
destiny, yeah.
now as a couple, you must actually know exactly where your destiny is. You know, and then forget about the provisions, because you may not have your provisions, but you need to reach your destiny.
And then, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, we also had the question of ED and menopause.
Yeah. For example, you might actually also have that. You know, we discussed that. You know, erectile, dysfunction, as well as menopause. Some people might actually say, well, let us call it quits because you have got this problem, and others might actually say, you know what, we'll be together. If you read my article last week about Mahatma Gandhi, you know, his wife said, you know, I thank you as my husband because we were in a relationship that didn't actually prioritize sex.
Wow.
You know, it was just a relationship. You know, and some other people have actually overcome that because what they want companionship more than any other thing.
Yeah, and Dr. Mabila Mathebula, these tragedies, they've got a way of breaking or making you, and at times to reveal the personality of a person.
Yeah, for example, we have got imposters in our lives. You have got a person who doesn't actually love you, but she loves what you have, or maybe the other way around. And then now, when you have got a tragedy like this, you know the true colors. That's why Martin Luther King Jr. once said that the highest measure of man is not where he stands when life is rosy, but where you stand during times of challenge and controversy. Now, when a relationship faces challenges and controversies, we can now measure such a relationship. That's why I think, you know, Baha'u'llah or the Blessed Beauty once said that we use fire to test gold, but we use gold to test our servants. We can use gold to also to test the relationship.
Yes. Now, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, there's certain thing that makes a man feel secured. What are those things?
Yeah, well, the security would actually come once a man is in a position, or maybe he thinks that he's in a position to render a woman pregnant. He feels, you know, very secured. And on the other side of the coin, when a woman realizes that she's going out, or maybe she's married to a man who can generate income, she also feels secure. Those are securities according to Abraham Maslow.
Abraham Maslow. So which basically means that, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, there's quite a number of factors that are at play. Security is actually one of the major one, because without that, especially for a man might feel that perhaps he's not worth the woman that he had.
Yeah, absolutely. You feel depleted as a man. And then you need some assurance that you are a man.
Now, for a woman, there are certain things that will make a woman actually lose confidence.
Yeah, as I said, you know, previously, I said when a man loses his job, he also loses his confidence. And on the other side of the coin, when a woman, you know, gains weight, she loses confidence. Now, as a man, you need to take into account the things, you know, that would actually make you lose the confidence, and the things that will make your wife or your girlfriend lose confidence. That's why it's not even wise for a man to say to a woman, "Hey, what's okay in a weight?" No, because you are making her to lose more confidence.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did hear that.
Did you hear that, Prince?
I did.
I heard that.
Because this is very interesting.
So even if you're joking,
No, you don't joke about that. You don't joke about something that would actually make someone to lose confidence.
Yes.
You can't say to a girlfriend, "Oh, okay, in a weight."
Hey, why to gain it?
But some girls like it, doctor.
Kiyo wayinta.
Well,
I Prince
well,
Utaf mfana.
well, I don't
They
know.
do.
Maybe such they just actually prepare, you know, pretend.
Good. Dr. Mabila Mathebula, we don't have the vocabulary cabinet today. What do we have?
Yeah, I think we were having a quotable code.
So what is our quotable code? And today's quotable code, you know, I've got a feeling it's not very long. It's like it's a short one. I just have the feeling.
Yeah, no, I've already. It's a repetition of what I said. We use fire to test gold, but we use gold to test our seven, Baha'u'llah or the Blessed Beauty.
Did you hear that? Virgin, can you just repeat that?
We use fire to test gold, but we use gold to test our servants.
Wow.
And he even said we can use the same gold to test our relationships.
Yeah.
For example, when you look at corruptions in the country,
Yes,
is the question of gold.
yes. They're using gold
So
to
I
test the
guess,
servants.
Yeah, the servants. How are you going to deal with gold? Even in a relationship, when the gold is no longer there, will you still have a relationship?
That's
So we can use gold also to test our relationship.
relationships.